The Old Testament required and prescribed lots of laws, and one of those laws was that one was supposed to observe the Sabbath. In Exodus 20, in Exodus 31, 12, and 17, God instituted that one should follow and observe Sabbath. Now, this idea of Sabbath is not new in the book of Exodus. In fact, going back in Genesis, we see that God labors 6 days and on the seventh he rests. So the rest, the idea of rest and observing Sabbath is consistent with God from Genesis to Exodus until it was instituted. It was a covenant, in fact, between God and his people, Israelites. So, how should Christians look at this? This is a law that was instituted, prescribed, and consistent with God Himself acting as an agent that rested in creation. And how should we Christians see that? Is this Sabbath necessary? Is it required for all Christians, all believers? You see, in the book of Romans, we are told that apart from the law, the righteousness of God has been revealed. It's been made manifest apart from the law, apart from these prescriptions that were in the Old Testament. Apart from that, when we put faith in Jesus, the righteousness of God has been revealed. So, if this is the foundation and this is the argument, then we can safely assume that we are not required to pursue observing the Sabbath. But at the same time, I want to caution in this area not to completely deny Sabbath. I think as Christians, even as Christians, we need rest. So it's a good idea to have a day set apart where you can observe and meditate upon what God has done in your life, in His faithfulness, promises. It's a good idea to do that. And Sunday might be that day for you. You go to church and then you meditate upon God's faithfulness and His promises. And then you sit down with your family, do a devotional, and that can be a sort of new covenant Sabbath. You see, it was a covenant between God and the Israelites. Now that covenant, in this new covenant that Jesus has introduced, we get Jesus as our rest, Jesus as our foundation, Jesus as our ultimate fulfillment of the law. So when we rest in Jesus, we do observe in a way that Sabbath. So whether you're a Christian or not, you need to be aware that Jesus is the ultimate rest and ultimate hope and ultimate salvation for everything. So we need to go to Jesus for the rest. He becomes the center and He becomes the ultimate rest in our lives. So I think psychologically, mentally, spiritually, in all aspect, keeping the Sabbath in Jesus, I think, is a profound way of going. It doesn't have to be the Old Testament way. In the New Covenant, we can rest in Jesus.